Speaking of dogs, we got Bryant McFadden on the phone, two-time Super Bowl champion.
Easy as the transition god.
Steeler. Hey, I listen. When I started watching football, Bryant McFadden was one of those dogs out there that got me into it. I remember specifically the Steelers were one of my favorite teams. What up, Bryant? You there?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How y'all doing? Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, man, in the presence of a champion. I got to ask you, man, because you played in the secondary and you were part of, like, defenses that spearheaded themselves and becoming champions. How you feel about my Lions secondary in this matchup, man? Are we cooked? Is there a chance of some of these playmakers like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or what?
Man, I like their chances, man, the Lions secondary. I like their chances. I think they're a very, very opportunistic group, especially, when they're healthy. Of course, when you look at the secondary play throughout the season, we've seen some ups and we've seen some downs. And I think that had a lot to do with the reason why we saw that was because we saw different faces in different places. And that happens when you have a lot of injuries to key players. But when you factor in, like you mentioned, getting Gardner-Johnson back, he's like the tone setter for their defense. He gets everybody rolling. And that's the mentality the entire defense they will need this Sunday against San Francisco. Everybody got to be on their best. Everybody got to do their best for 4 quarters and keep the mistakes at a minimum.
Is there a way to Band-Aid? Because I think our safeties are dogs. Our safeties and Brian Branch at the nickel spot, too. I think he's a dog, too. But, like, that outside corner spot, is there a way to Band-Aid that? Or is it just always kind of like it is what it is until we get in that red zone?
There is certain ways to kind of put a Band-Aid over it. But me personally, when you look at the nature of the game in the NFL, especially in between the 20s, offenses are going to do numbers. Wide receivers are going to catch passes. I believe if defenses can play their best football in the red zone, you will always be in positions to win ball games. I call that defense elbow defense. It bends, but it doesn't break. And that has to be the calling card for the Lions defense. Yes, they're going to bend. They're going to bend a lot. You guys are Lions fans. You guys should know that. You've seen your defense bend a lot. But when they buckle down in the red zone like they did last week, like they did throughout the season, that's when you're playing high-level football. Red zone efficiency is super important on either side of the football field, offensively and defensively. If you can win those battles, you will be in position to win ball games, especially in tournament football, playoff football. If you can limit teams to kick field goals, you're going to be in a good situation.
Now, back in your day, a savvy defender like yourself, if you had a matchup like against a Brock Purdy, what is going through the mind of a defender in that standpoint, like a second-year quarterback? Actually, what is your opinion on him when it comes to, like, the whole game manager versus I don't want to call him a game changer, but I guess what is your opinion of Brock Purdy? And as a defender, I guess what would you be salivating over?
Man, I love Brock Purdy's game, man. It's unfortunate that he receives so much criticism. I think it's unfair because it's not like he's a liability on their offense. It's not like if Brock Purdy had to throw 30-plus times a game, they were going to lose. He's shown the ability to be a volume-like quarterback in regards to attempts and coming out on top. So for people that criticizes Brock Purdy, I think it's unfair because, number one, you should never look at Brock Purdy's 1.5-year stint as a starting quarterback and put him in that Pat Mahomes category, right? Mm-hmm. Now, to Brock Purdy's credit, the way he's played football as a starter, looking at his numbers, yes, sometimes you can sprinkle his name in those conversations because he's played high-level football over the last 2 years. But he's a guy that's still earning his keep in the National Football League. And I feel like if Brock Purdy was a first or second-round draft pick, the way he's been criticized, it wouldn't be up to the same level if he was a first or second-round draft pick. If you look at Brock Purdy's numbers, if those numbers was warranted from a first or second-round draft pick, do you think he would be criticized as much? Playing in his second conference championship game? Right? Yeah. I don't think so. I think that plays a lot into why he faces so much criticism. And I, for one, think he's a winner, and he's shown the ability to win. Now, to answer your second question, what you should do against Brock Purdy, the same thing you would do against the elites of the elite at the quarterback position. You should never, I don't know if you guys play poker. I don't know if you guys are card players. But any given time you get at the card table, if you show your hand to your opponent, they know exactly what you have and they know how to dissect and counter to be able to win that said hand, right? It's the same thing with the game of football defensively. If you manipulate the coverage, if you manipulate the blitz concepts, now you make the opposing quarterback think, and you oftentimes can confuse him. And that's the thing I love about Aaron Glenn's defense. Yes, they might give up a play here or there, but when he's bringing pressure, you never know where the pressure is coming from. You never know where the droppers are dropping to minimize throwing lanes, and it all works hand in hand based on the disguise concepts. That has to be what you need to present to Brock Purdy. When you play against any quarterback, it's not just about Brock Purdy. You play against any quarterback, if you show them your hand, guess what they're going to do? They're going to find success.
Now, look, on the other side for the Lions, man, I want to ask this question. With Jared Goff, what does he need to do in order to try and neutralize or beat this San Francisco defense, especially their linebackers?
Jared Goff just played Jared Goff football. Playoff football is about two things based on my experience as a past player, retired player. The team that gets off to a fast start and the team that protects the football the best usually wins. You guys have been watching the playoffs the entire season, right? Round ones and currently getting ready for this week. Look at the teams that have won ball games. Look at the common thing those teams have done. Gotten off to a real good start, and they protected the football. So if I'm Jared Goff, listen, Jared Goff, you have nothing to prove. I think you're a bona fide winner. I think you're a guy that can play high-level quarterbacking for the team. Play the same way you've been playing. Protect the football. Take what the defense is giving you. And one thing that Bill Cowher used to emphasize to our quarterbacks my rookie year during our championship run, punting the football is fine. There's nothing wrong with punting the football. You know what I mean? Instead of forcing the issue and creating turnovers. So for me personally, I like Jared Goff in this matchup. And one thing that I've witnessed with San Francisco defensively, they've been a stout unit, but they've been having holes that surface in their defensive play as well. You know what I mean? So I think Jared Goff should be in a good situation, just being smart with the football, make the time he plays that's given to you, and play the same way you've been playing the entire season.
Hey, Bryant, this KG in the sound booth. I had a question for you. You won 2 Super Bowls, and I think you played in 3, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of our young Lions players, this is our first time getting to this level of football. Can you speak to what it's like just being a young player getting to this level of football and what it takes to stay at this level of football?
Man, just don't think about it too much, because oftentimes when you think about what you're about to embark in, right, you kind of put too much pressure on yourself. Yep. I remember our first Super Bowl run. It happened, my rookie year. So at that time, that's kind of all I knew. I didn't know anything else because, I was fresh in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. But I remember, Coach Cowher emphasized to our entire team during the playoff run. He was like, man, whatever you guys are doing, don't change it up. Do not change it up. You know what I mean? Keep doing whatever it is your routine is. Keep doing it. If you guys are going out together as a team on Friday nights, hanging out and enjoying each other, keep doing it. If you're spending time with your family or whatever the case may be, keep doing it. Don't change up anything because we're in the first round of the playoffs. We're in the second round of the playoffs. Oh, we're in championship weekend. No, don't change it up. You want to be relaxed. In anything that you do, it's not just about sports. Whatever your career is, whatever your profession is, whatever your 9 to 5 is, in anything you do, if you do so with a relaxed mind and relaxed heart, you're going to be successful because you don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself. Like when you guys are doing your shows, when you feel good and you relax, you have your best shows. But when you oftentimes overthink this upcoming segment, you kind of put more pressure on yourself, and then you become uncomfortable. And anytime you're uncomfortable, that doesn't warrant success. You know what I mean? So me personally, I would advise to the Lions, man, just keep doing what you guys been doing up until this point, man. Keep doing it. Because it has been working.
B-Mac, I got to ask this too, man, before we let you get going. Obviously, the Detroit Lions, they haven't had this amount of success since even before you were rookie, before I was born. Do you view this as a Cinderella story, or are they the real deal? And I guess close out with your prediction if you can.
I don't view the Detroit Lions 2023 season as a Cinderella story, and here's why. If you've been watching football, since Dan Campbell has become the head coach there in Detroit, you've seen progression. Mm-hmm. You've seen development. You've seen a sense of steady play. You've seen a mentality being created before your eyes. Heck, this was almost supposed to be Detroit last year. Remember, they almost got into the playoff, but they didn't get in. But guess what they did? They played spoiler, right? So this was already kind of in the works. And I think when you talk about the foundation that Coach Campbell has built there in Detroit, it's going to continue. They're going to add structure to that foundation. They're going to add structure to that building. So that's why I love what I'm seeing. Secondly, when you look at Brad Holmes, man, listen, Brad Holmes, people do not talk about Brad Holmes enough, in my opinion. The job that Brad Holmes has done as the GM for the Detroit Lions over the last 2-3 years has been unbelievable. How many guys has he drafted that are big-time contributors to this team? Making the move for Jared Goff, that was a Brad Holmes move. Drafting Amon-Ra St. Brown, that was a Brad Holmes move. Drafting Sam Laporta, that was a Brad Holmes move. Penei Sewell, Brad Holmes move. Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton, Brian Branch. Man, almost, think about this, guys. Almost all the significant starters and role players, he played a part in them becoming a Detroit Lion. He's been hitting on guys, draft picks. I mean, this man, McNeil, come on, man. It's not just about first and second rounders. This guy has been hitting on guys in the third, fourth round.
That's fact.
People are not talking about. Yes, people are not talking about that, man. So I can't say enough good things about Brad Holmes. But when you have a GM that recognizes talent to what you want your team to look like, and when you have a coach in Dan Campbell that understands what it needs to take to make that said team look like what they needed to look like, no question success is going to warrant. And another thing I'll say before you guys let me go, the Detroit Lions is a selfless team. You don't have any me guys on that team. That's important. That's important. The quarterback is not a me guy. The star wide receiver is not a me guy. The running back is not a me guy. These guys are selfless. They want everyone to eat so they can get to that championship level. And that's why it's been a successful season. That's why I don't believe it's a Cinderella season. That's why the Detroit Lions is going to stick around for quite some time, because they got quality individuals that are manning the system, that know how to continue to add talent to their system, and these guys are selfless.
B-Mac, man, I appreciate you. You were spitting fire. I'm sure the audience wants to hear more from you. Give a shout out to, I know you got all things covered, you CBS. Where else can people find your content and listen to more B-Mac?
Man, I talk ball all the time. I talk ball in my sleep, man. So if you guys can't tell, I love football, man. I love talking it. But, yeah, you can catch me on CBS Sports HQ, especially this weekend, getting ready for championship weekend, previewing all the games, halftime shows, post-game shows on Paramount Plus. Also, we're streaming on Paramount Plus. Find me on social media, BMAC_Sports Talk, all the same name for all handles. And I appreciate you guys, man, allowing me to jump on your platform with.
Appreciate you.
We're honored to be here. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hey, anytime, man. Anytime, man. And hey, if the Lions make it to the Super Bowl, we might have to run it back. I might be a good luck charm for y'all.
Hey, let's go. I'm with it. I'm with it, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yo, I love that, man. I love that.
Two-time Super Bowl champ, CBS Sports Analysis, and podcast of all things covered, B-Mac, Bryant, McFadden. Thank you for joining us.